Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It is currently 2:29 a.m. and I woke up about a half an hour ago. I had such a wonderful nap. I was so rested. When I got up, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I've slept for 15 hours. Today was such a good day. We got up and we went to, well, I went and got coffee for myself, and I got myself a venti iced blonde Americano with an extra shot and 2 Splenda. And I got Alex a venti black iced tea, because that's what he drinks from Starbucks. And then he went and got us chairs at the pool in our neighborhood, because I had driven by there on the way to Starbucks, and there were only like 2 groups of people. I mean, there was like 2 people there. That was it. And so when I was at Starbucks, I was like, hey, do you want to go up to the pool? Oh, I had to go to Fresh Time because we were going to Melissa and Jason's later for a barbecue, and I had to get some stuff for me to eat, like some plant-based brats and plant-based burgers. So, because I didn't know how late Fresh Time was open or the grocery store, so I was like, do you want to go to the pool and get us our seats just in case people start coming up there? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I brought the coffee back, or I brought his tea back to him. And then I went to Fresh Time and he walked up to the pool. And then I came up to the pool. And there was like nobody there, like the whole day. I couldn't believe it, really. I don't know what the deal is with our pool, like on holidays and weekends, but there's really never anybody up there on the weekends. And then during the week, it's busier. I must be because people like go to their lake houses or are busy doing stuff on the weekends. I don't know. But when I got up there, there was one woman. She was just by herself. She was like reading magazines and she was reading a book, and she got in like twice and like swam a few laps and then she left. And then there was another woman that I know, because she walks and runs in our neighborhood, and she's like on the board. And so I don't know if you guys will remember this, but last summer, we were actually talking about this today. There was like the one day when like all the ambulances and the police cars and the fire engines and everything came to our neighborhood, and nobody knew what was going on. And so she was out there, and I was talking to her that night, and that's how she and I met. It kind of became neighborly and friendly. So anyway, she was there, so we talked to her, and then she left. And then this couple that I had met last year, they're probably in their 60s. Her mom lives in our neighborhood. And so she would come up there and like, you know, use her mom's card and stuff like that to just have like a little card to get into the pool area. So anyway, when they came up there today, she was like, hey, how are you? I was like, I couldn't remember her name, but then she was like, I remember your name, but I don't remember your husband's name. And so I introduced him to Alex. I was like, I'm so sorry, I don't remember your name. And she was so sweet. Where is the lip balm in here? Here it is, here's the one that is lip balm. And so she told me her name and her husband's name. And I said, I said I hadn't seen you guys yet this summer, and I was getting a little worried that maybe something happened to your mom. And she was like, no. She was like, my mom's still doing okay. And I was like, I had noticed that they had like come from like a different area. And I said something about, you walked from a different area, and they go, well, we moved in here. We sold our house, and we moved in here in February. So they live in the neighborhood now, and they were like really friendly. Alex was like super talkative with them, and she had like watermelon with like this Mexican spice on it. Alex said he had had it before. Anyway, so she brought it over, and he was eating it, and they were just super friendly. And her husband was so funny because we were talking about like going to see fireworks, and so she was like in the pool and he was like sitting outside of the pool, and she was like, I didn't bring you down here to sit in the shade the whole day. And he was like, let me do what I want. And then she's like, do you want to go see the fireworks? And he goes, no. And just like, not like, no, I'm not really in the mood, not like, no, I've seen fireworks, just no, I don't want to, you know. It was so hilarious. So anyway, and then this other woman came that I knew, that I met last summer with her son, and then her husband came up later, and we were talking, and they were really nice, and he's a paramedic, and they live like on the street, like outside of our neighborhood that's like on the lake. Fireworks over there, going off in the parking lot over here, can you see? So anyway, and we got out there at probably like 1:30, and we left at like 5:30. We were out there, and I mean, like, I feel like I got so much sun today. It doesn't really look like it on this camera, but like my arms and my shoulders and stuff are like, I got like a lot of sun today. So anyway, Alex got a lot of sun today too. It was beautiful. It was like 85, 86, and it was just like not a cloud in the sky. It was beautiful the whole day. The water in the pool was perfect. I need to go buy some rafts and some stuff for the pool because I don't have anything for the pool. And it was so nice out. So anyway, we did that. And then afterwards, he went home and took a shower and started getting ready because we were going to Melissa and Jason's. We had to be there at 7. It was Melissa and Jason, Aaron and Eric, and Alex and I. And then Aaron, her son, came for just a little bit. He came for like a half an hour. And he goes to school in Florida now, but he's home for the summer. He's getting ready actually to leave because his girlfriend, she lives in, I think, like New Jersey or something, but she has a house, and like her family has a house in like Long Island, so he's going up there to spend like a week with her. So anyway, and I went to go get chips because we were supposed to bring chips. So I went to the gas station and got like 4 bags of chips. And it was fun. And then at the last minute, Melissa and Jason were like, bring your chairs because we should go downtown and watch the fireworks and stuff. And honestly, like, after I took a shower and to get ready to go, I was so tired, like I could have fallen asleep right then. Like, I forget sometimes how much like the pool and the sun just completely takes it out of you. I feel like this entire day, Boo Radley can't stand it. It like scares the hell out of him. The entire day, there have been fireworks going off, like even in the middle of the afternoon. And so anyway, we got ready and we went over to Melissa and Jason's, and they made, Aaron made watermelon and pasta salad. And Melissa made guacamole. Oh, her guacamole is so good. She's like one of those actual guacamole bowls where you like grind everything together. And then Jason grilled out everything, and he was so nice. He had like cleaned off an area for me, and like he grilled my stuff on like tin foil so it wouldn't touch anything else. And I had bought these brats that were caramelized onion brats. They were made from like, I can't remember what else was in them. They were pretty good. The burger was like the Beyond Burger or whatever it was. I don't know what brand it was. It's the same brand that I had, like, that our friends yesterday grilled out. It was really good. So we sat there and we ate, and yeah, it was just really fun. And then Aaron, for dessert, had made these little cheesecakes. Ugh, why is it out of focus? Come on now. Aaron had made these little cheesecakes. Come on. It hasn't been doing this as much lately, going out of focus, but when it does, it's like I can't fix it. I have to like just like turn it off and then start it over again. Come on. Is it gonna fix itself or not? There it is. Erin made these little cheesecakes, and then she also froze grapes and rolled them in Kool-Aid, which honestly I was very skeptical of. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like these, and I loved them. They were so good. She was like, aren't they so good? I was like, oh my god, these are good. I was like, this is a good kind of like healthy snack. Well, I mean like minus the Kool-Aid, but just to freeze grapes. Is that like a thing? And I didn't know about that. Like, is that like a healthy trick when you're eating healthier to like freeze grapes? I don't know. So anyway, but yeah, so, and then they started like, they weren't sure they were going to go downtown or not, and Melissa's like, we can like either like light some stuff in the cul-de-sac, or we can in the street, or we can go downtown. And Jason's like, yeah, I don't really feel like lighting a bunch of stuff. He, I think, wanted to kind of go downtown. And I looked at Alex, and Alex was like leaning back against the couch, and he was like about to fall asleep. And I said, babe, what do you want to do? And he was like, I don't care, it's up to you. And I said, okay, let's just pass. We saw fireworks last night, and I am really tired. And he was like, that's fine with me. So when they went downtown, they left about 20 till 10, because they were just going to drive to like the outskirts of downtown, and then they were going to stop somewhere and like just put their chairs up in a parking lot. We left when they left, and we were all like left the house at the same time. And then Melissa's got a bunch of Halloween memorabilia that she wants to open in a review video to review. She's real excited about it. She was showing it to me tonight. So anyway, summer tastes better with Coca-Cola. What a cute ad that is. So we came home, and I told Alex I wanted to call Tanya, so I called Tanya and she didn't answer. And sometimes when I call her, she'll like call me back like in a couple minutes. So I drove around for a second. I was listening to my audiobook, which I started last night, which is so good. Oh my god, I'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, Tanya was out on the boat, and they were at her friend's house in Cicero, Indiana, on Morse Lake. They were going to watch the fireworks, and they had been out on the boat all day long, so they were like, they had been gone over to her friend's house for like a barbecue, and then they were going out on the lake to watch the fireworks. She texted me back. So anyway, I just like drove for like 5 minutes and listened to my audiobook, and then I came home, and Alex was already in bed with his iPad watching TV shows, because he had all his TV shows to catch up on in the last week. So I like got into bed. I bought this new fan at Costco, and like Alex likes it better than the old fan. He's like, he goes, I think it's, you know, it's like newer and whatever. It is really nice, and it's like, it doesn't have like a turn thing on it. You just like touch this, like the top of it. It's like all like very technical, you know, technological, and then it like goes high. But the problem is, the other fan is probably like this round, and this fan is like this big. And so if I have it, it's like literally 5 feet away from me. So if I have it aimed at my face, like below my waist, it's not hitting me at all. And so like I was laying there in bed, and like I said, like I got a lot of sun today, and so my legs are just like radiating heat, and the fan is not hitting my legs at all. But where Alex is, because he's like, you know, 10 feet away from it, because he's on the other side of the bed, his whole body can feel the fan. So I finally, thank God I didn't throw it out, because this old fan that we had was so old. I finally went in the closet, and I went and I brought the other fan out, because I was like, I cannot sleep with this fan. Like, I just can't get comfortable. So I brought the old fan. Alex is like, what are you doing? I was like, I can't feel the fan on me. I was like, I need to feel the whole fan on me. So I brought the other fan out and put it up, and I don't know what he was watching. He had his AirPods on, or his headphones on for a while. He was watching The Hills when I left. Actually, when I left, I think he was watching Dynasty or something. It sounded like Dynasty or Grey's Anatomy or something. But he had been watching The Hills. And Boo Radley and Tucker were just like so asleep. It was so cute. Do you ever like see people that like hardly ever drink, and then like you like run into them sometime and they've been kind of like, they're not like drunk, but they're like a little tipsy. So our like neighbors, the ones that like are retired, that just moved in like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we love them. They are so nice. Well, they like go, like they'll go like a couple nights a week, and they'll go somewhere to like for like cocktail hour or like happy hour or whatever, and they'll have like a glass of wine or like one margarita and like, you know, or like some drink somewhere, but then that's it. Like they're not big drinkers. And but they're always like with Alex, they're like, you should come over and have like a beer on our patio or whatever, and we can, you know, Peter can have a Diet Coke or whatever. And they're real nice, but I just know that they're not like big drinkers. Well, today I was talking to her and I said, so what do you guys do? And she just gotten back from the pool. Like when I was going to I had to come home to like drop off the stuff that I got at Fresh Time, the stuff I got at Fresh Time. So like I saw her and she was like in her bathing suit and like this cover up, and she was like, oh, I just saw Alex leaving the pool. And I said, what are you guys doing? And she's like, we're gonna go to the Indians game tonight. And I was telling her how much fun it is. So the Indians is like the Indianapolis Indians. It's like the baseball team in Indianapolis. And the whole like, what is it called down there, that park? I can't remember what it's called. But we've gone down there for so many different things. There used to be this like celebrity baseball game that they would have every year. It was like a fundraiser for this girl that had passed, this little girl that had died from cancer. They would do this huge fundraiser every year, like in her name, like to raise money for like pediatric cancer and stuff. We used to go to that every year. I can't think of what it's called down there. I almost said Soldier Field, which is in Chicago. But anyway, so they were going down there. Well, when they came home tonight was when it was right when we were getting home from Melissa and Jason's, and he was like leaving to walk the dog. And so I was like, Alex went inside and I was like talking to him, and like he wasn't drunk by any means, but he was like a little tipsy, I could tell. And he was like kind of like laughing, and he was like, yeah. And I was like, you didn't have any nachos? He's like, now why would I have nachos when I had a really perfectly good dinner? He was like real funny, and I was like, I think he's a little tipsy tonight. I had never seen him like that before. It was kind of funny. But anyway. I was talking to this paramedic in the pool today. So nice, this woman's husband. And he had been like, he'd worked for like ever, like as a paramedic. And so we were asking him about like different things that he sees and whatever. And a friend of Alex's who just moved here with his wife and kids not too long ago took his son the other day to this mall at Castleton with his wife and his father-in-law to Build-A-Bear, to go make like a teddy bear. He's got like, his son's like 5. And Alex was telling me that he had talked to him, and like they walked into the mall through the food court, and like right in front of them there was like this shooting. It was a fatal shooting. And I feel like every day in Indianapolis there's more and more shootings. And so we were asking this paramedic like something about like, you know, the shootings and stuff, and he was like, yeah, he was like the news show, like he was like, you would think that it was a lot for us, but it's not as much as you think it is. But he did know the one that had happened at the mall. And so anyway, I said something about being sober, and I said, do you see a lot of overdoses? And he was like, it's constant. I was like, really? He was like, oh yeah. He's like, it's constant. He goes, he's like, I have sometimes gone to the same person to revive them 2 and 3 times in a night. I was asking him about like Narcan and stuff like that you hear a lot of people like use, you know, paramedics use and whatever. So sad, isn't it? But overall, today was a good day. We had was fun. I hung out with Alex all day yesterday and all day today. And tomorrow we're gonna go to brunch. And then it's supposed to be nice again tomorrow, so we might go to the pool again tomorrow. And then it's back to him going to work on Tuesday. And then I'm supposed to have my literature group tomorrow night. I wonder if we're gonna have it, since most people are off work tomorrow night. I bet we probably won't. I didn't make any videos today. I just posted my vlog. I kind of decided when I got up, I was like, because I knew that if I was going to make videos, I'd have to come back from the pool and make them before I started getting ready to go to Melissa and Jason's. So I was like in the pool and I was like, do I want to make videos today? I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to enjoy the day, be with Alex, go back to making videos tomorrow. But it's nice to get to spend a couple of days in a row with Alex like this when we're not on vacation. So, I don't know, depending on what tomorrow's like, I'm sure I'll make videos tomorrow because I didn't today and I feel kind of like out of the loop, like I haven't, you know. Where am I at on time? I do want to listen to more of my book tonight. Okay, so I'm listening to this book called Camp by, I think it's by L.C. Rosen. I don't want to switch over to the Audible because if I switch over, it'll start playing. Here, I'll look really quick. L.C. Rosen, yeah. And it's called Camp. And it's about this camp called Outland Camp. If you ever saw the movie back in the day called Camp, do you guys remember that movie? And it was like a musical theater camp. It was a great movie. If you've never seen the movie Camp from years ago, it was such a great movie. It reminds me of that. Except for like that camp in that movie wasn't a gay camp. Like this isn't an all gay camp, all LGBT camp. And they talk a lot about like, well, the book is interesting because there's so many like kind of like sub-characters and that are like non-binary and demisexual and all this kind of stuff. It's really interesting. And so it's very educational as well. It's a young adult book. And it's about this kid. And he was kind of like heavier and flowers behind his ear. He just kind of described himself from the years before, and that's what he said. Nail polish and all this kind of stuff. And then he's had this crush. So he started going to the camp when he was 12. He's 16. So for like 12, 13, 14, and 15, he's had this crush on this boy whose name is Hudson. The name character's guy is Randy, but his name's Randall. He now goes by Dell. And he's had a crush on this guy, but this guy's like athletic and jockey. I think I talked about this last night. So anyway, so he works out throughout the year and he loses all this weight and he like cuts his hair really short. Basically, he becomes what this guy's like dream person would be to get him as a boyfriend. And he's like, but he gives up everything that's important to him, like, and he acts like he's never been to this camp before. And so all of his friends, he's like in this cabin with all of his friends, and they're like he's not doing the musical theater play, which is Bye Bye Birdie, and he feels like not connected to his friends. And so he's doing like all this it's called outdoor adventure. It's like you can like go to camp and you can pick which trek you're gonna do, like, you know. And so like a lot of the kids do musical theater and he's doing like all the athletic stuff to be around this guy. And I know that the book is gonna really ultimately be about like be who you are and people should love you for who you are and be too much, which I love the message of that. I just think it's gonna be really sad how it gets there. I know that there's gonna be some like, well, I don't really want to speculate what I think is going to happen with the book because I think I'm probably right on about it. But you know what's interesting about reading this book? I mean, it is really a really fantastic. If you like YA and you like LGBT YA, it is a fantastic LGBTYA book. I can't believe it's not being talked about more. Plus, it's such a good book to read in the summer because it's about summer camp, you know? And one of the things they do that's really cool is the owner of the camp, her name is Joan. Like, every night, they have to do this Pride history thing for, like, an hour. And they all come together before bed. And she does, like, history lessons on, like, Stonewall. But it's, like, so much deeper than that. Like, they just gave a history lesson. It was stuff that I didn't even know. And she goes in and talks about, like, the first, like, gay rights activist group that was like in the 50s, and she's like, so when people tell you that we weren't fighting for our rights earlier than that, that's just not true. And she's going in, she's like educating them. So anyway, it's a really interesting book, but and it's really well done, and the dialogue is very authentic to like how, you know, teenagers talk and stuff like that. And his like best friend is this guy named George. It's like super flamboyant, like kid that like wants like all this one like part in Bye Bye. I don't know the musical Bye Bye Birdie real well. And so anyway, and the guy that he's like has a crush on has like all these preconceived ideas about like what's gay and what's normal, and he doesn't want to be considered as like drag queen gay and eyeshadow and nail polish. And so his friends are like, you're compromising who you are just to get this guy. So anyway, it's this whole like kind of underlying discussion about it. It's really great book, especially for a young person to be having that discussion. But you know, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to it tonight, and I'm like, because my parents, like if I had been out in high school, or if I had been out in junior high, and I have several friends of mine whose kids have come out at like Caroline, her, like one of her really good friends, her son came out when he was like 10. And I'm like, I have friends of mine that like, anyway, I just have a lot of friends of mine that have, you know, their kids have come out, and I think like had I come out in junior high, which by the time that I was in junior high, even though I had a girlfriend in high school because I was so convinced I couldn't really have, you know, be who I wanted to be, my parents, A, would have been so supportive of it, you know, and B, no, there weren't any gay camps and anything like that, but just like sit there and listen to like them like be in the cabin and like turning on like the soundtrack to Bye Bye Birdie and I mean, for me to like we have it like a gay youth group in Indianapolis. It's like pretty big and really well funded, and they have like a gay prom every year, and they have like gay lock-ins. And when my book came out, I actually went and spoke to their parent group, because they have a parent group that's really involved, that like it's like the Indianapolis PFLAG organization, which is Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. And so I went and spoke to their parent group about like my experience growing up and how my parents have been helpful to me and stuff like that. And I talked about my book that I wrote. And like had I had that when I was in high school, and I did know people that were involved in that, like when I came out, like it existed when I was in high school, but nobody ever told me that. I never had a school counselor tell me, hey, there's this organization, because I wasn't out, right? But like I never had a counselor ask me, even my counselor that my parents were paying for, that looked at me and said, I think, you know, next week we'll come and we'll talk about your sexuality. And I was like, that's the last time I'm ever seeing her again. I'm not talking to her about my sexuality. So, you know, like, but I never had anybody that said there's these resources that you could go to. And I'm sure I would have been so completely resistant to that at that time. But like, and been like, I'm absolutely not going, and I'm not gay, and I don't know what you're talking about. But like reading this book, I'm kind of jealous of like all of the resources and the outlets and all of this stuff that, although, I mean, I'm not saying it's any easier to come out today in 2021, because I think depending on where you live and your parents and their belief systems and families and religiosity and all that, it can be 100 times more difficult today than it was for me, because I just born into who I was born into. My parents were super accepting, you know? But like just to have like a gay camp that I could have gone to and have been myself for 4 weeks in the summer, you know? I don't know, like, I think I would have figured stuff out a lot earlier about, like, what's that noise? It's a weird noise. I think I would have figured, stopped. I think I would have figured stuff out a lot earlier about, like, not just coming out and who I am, but about, like, I don't really know how to explain it. You know, whenever I say this, like I feel like people always take it the wrong way. But, like, all of my friends in my life are women, right? And I'm extremely thankful for all of the women in my life. My best friend is a woman. All of my close friends are women. And I have, like, this one hair from my beard that is, like, I trimmed around there today, and it's, like, one hair I didn't get. It's driving me crazy. But anyway, I'm so extremely thankful for the women in my life. My friends in high school were women, you know, that accepted me when nobody else would. But to have similar thinking people, you know, like, to have some other gay men as friends, like, I've had, like, during one period of my life, I had 3 close friends, and we were all kind of, like, the 4 of us were, like, a group. And, you know, and I'm still friends with 2 of them individually. Well, the 3rd one I just don't ever talk to. We just kind of fell out of talking. But the other 2 I talked to. One of them's the guy that I went on a date with, and then we became, you know, really good friends. He was at my wedding, and my other friend is the one that lives in Denver. But, like when I would go visit my friend in Denver, you know, in the summer, and we would, like, go to Starbucks and get coffee, and we would drive around and blast music, and there just was a connection there. I don't really know how to explain it. It wasn't better and it wasn't worse, and, like, my friendship with Tanya, it just was different, you know? And it was like, I felt understood on a level that I really sometimes miss having just, I don't really have any gay male friends, and I miss having, like, at least one in my life, you know? And there's some gay male YouTubers that I talk to that I'm friendly with, but it's not like we're hanging out, you know? And I don't know, it's just like, I miss that a little bit, you know? When I was younger, I definitely had, I mean, before that too, like, when I was going out and before I got sober and stuff, but, like, I always lived with, like, my roommate, who, you know, she and I were super close. I actually got an email from her, that's so funny, from Berlin, and she, like, watches my videos and stuff. She said something about one of my videos. Anyway, she sent me an email about my birthday. But I was keeping my other Diet Coke in this thing to keep it cold, and can I just tell you, it kept it ice cold. Whenever I talk about it, you know, I always, like, get a couple comments, not tons, but a couple where people are like, well, why can't you have the same relationship with a woman that you can? And I mean, I guess I can, but, like, having had all of these friendships with women, I mean, 95% of my friendships in my life have been women. There is something that's just a little bit different about having, it's not about one is better than the other. It's about, in addition, I would also like to have at least one gay male friend, you know? I will tell you one thing that was interesting to me, though, like, later, and this is where I feel very naive and kind of, like, out of the loop of stuff sometimes, was later in talking to some of my friends, like, you know, there was a time that I was very involved in the gay community, and going out to gay bars a lot, and you know, and had a lot of gay, a lot of gay acquaintances, I should say. I wouldn't necessarily say close friends. And there was another time before I got sober that I had a couple really close gay guy friends, and one that I talked to a couple years ago after like 15 years, and it was like no time had gone by. But one of the things that was weird, like has been weird in talking to like guys that I was friends with back then now, is that they were all sleeping with each other behind like my back, like not behind my back, because I wasn't like, they weren't my boyfriends or anything, but like I was unaware that they were hooking up, and nobody was trying to hook up with me. Nobody was trying to sleep with me. And I said that to one of my friends, and my friend said, that's just not true. We all like thought you were so cute and whatever. And I go, none of you ever tried to like hook up with me or hit on me or whatever. And my friend was like, this was my friend from like years before, and he was like, Peter, you were drunk all the time. He was like, I don't think you really know like how drunk you were. He was like, there was no like hooking up with you because you were so drunk. And then one of my other friends, I said something, he goes, Peter, you've been in a relationship since you were 18, which is true. I'm like, I've been constantly in a relationship from like, I mean, I've taken time off between the relationships, but those times, like, I focus on myself. I did do some dating, but dating's such a waste of time for me. Like, I know, like I've said this before, like on a date, like I know in 5 minutes, like if I'm wasting my time or if I'm going to be with this person for the rest of my life. Like, true story, I did. I remember that my friend hooked me up with this guy, and I thought he was so cute. He was really cute, and I'm always like so apprehensive to like tell these stories. You know, I'm always like, what is too much? And then like I get on YouTube and like I see these like titles of videos, you know, and it's like, I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know, maybe I'm too easily shocked or something. I'm really not that kind of a prude at all. I just really am not. But I don't feel like the majority of my audience wants to hear about my sex life, you know, back in the day. I just don't think that's what y'all are here for, you know. But anyway, I went out with this guy on this day. This is so horrible, but this is just the truth. So here, I'll tell some truths tonight. But anyway, this guy, this was before... When would this have been? Would this have been... So this was before... This was after my first boyfriend, before my second boyfriend. And my friend, actually, my friend that I just talked about, the one that I have known since we went on the date and then decided that we should just be friends, his ex-boyfriend hooked me up with this guy. Oh my God, I thought he was so cute. I saw him out at like a couple times at the bar, and he introduced me to him and stuff. And, so we go out on this date, and he comes to my house, and I was like, okay, this will be fun, you know, whatever. And I can remember, this is so bad, like the whole time at dinner, I was just like, I knew, like, I was like, this date is not going anywhere, but I kind of wanted to make out with him and like see where it would go, because I kind of wanted to see him naked. But I knew that the date wasn't going to go anywhere, and it didn't, but whatever. He was a nice guy, and he was super cute. He got kind of like, I can remember later, he came up to me, like, I saw him out, and like, I never called him. I mean, he never called me either to like, for like a repeat date or anything, but like, he was real drunk, and he got like up in my face, and was like, oh, I guess she didn't want to go on another date with me, kind of thing. And I was like, not like this, I don't. No, thank you. When I got sober, you know, things changed for me a lot. Like, I'm not going to say I never had I never did not have, how do I say it, that I didn't have any one night stands sober, because that would be a lie straight from the pit of hell. But not many. I mean, and And they were typically like dates that turned into that, because if I met somebody and I liked them, first of all, if you ever see me on an app, or if you ever see me on any kind of dating site or whatever, it's a lie straight from the pit of hell. I have never in my life ever been on a dating site. I have never been on one of those apps. Tomorrow, if Alex and I broke up, I would not get on one of those apps. For me, I've had girlfriends of mine that have met husbands on Match.com and eHarmony and all those, and Plenty of Fish and whatever, okay? For me, for gay men, the majority of them are hookup sites. That's whatever. And I'd rather meet somebody in person. So, and that's just me. And I can remember when I, like when that whole world of, like, all these dating sites and hookup apps and stuff, you know, started. I mean, it started, like, for, like, gay men with, like, Grindr, and then it was Scruff, and then it was, like, all of these. Like, it really kind of made me very sad when I was in a relationship when those started happening, but, you know, friends of mine would start using them and talking about them that people that not friends, but, like, people that I was, you know, that I knew. And, I'd be like, well, they'd be like, oh, I hooked up with this guy. Where'd you meet him? Oh, well, I met him on Grindr. And you just went to his house? Yeah. I'm like, doesn't that scare you? Like, you don't know who you're, like, showing up to. Oh, well, it's fine, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, it's not fine. I think it's scary, you know. I don't know. It's just so impersonal to me. And I'd almost rather not have that piece of my life than for it to be that impersonal. I understand that we're a generation of all of that now, so it's kind of like you have to play that if you're going to meet people, I guess. You know, people don't really go out to clubs and meet people anymore and stuff like that. I don't know. It's a whole lost generation. It makes me kind of sad. But, I was starting to say something and then I got into all of that. Yeah, I've never been on those things. And it's kind of like, so when I got out of my relationship with my ex, that summer, like, going into, like, meeting Alex was when all of that started. Like, that on the, I think, like, all of it, like, came out that year. Like, the apps and the websites and stuff like that around that year. Because it was completely news to me. Like, people would say stuff to me about it, and I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And they're like, oh, like, well, you know, I'm on this website, or do you like, have you met people? I'm like, I've never been on that. I don't know what those websites are. Like, and I wouldn't say that it scared me, but and it's not that I'm not technological, it's just that, like, I don't know, like, for me, I'd rather meet somebody in person, and then, you know. But what was I gonna say about, let's go back. I was saying that when I got sober, oh, I know what I was gonna say. When I got sober, it's not like I haven't had any one-night stands since I got sober, because I had before I was in a relationship. And I'm very much a traditionalist when it comes to relationships, you know. And, so typically what I would do is, like, I would meet somebody out at a club before, like, you know, all that. And somebody would be like, you know, like, they'd be flirting with me, and, you know, they'd proposition to, like, go home with me. And I'd be like, let me give you my number. And if you're interested, then you can call me and we can go out on a date, you know? Or you can take me out on a date. And then we'll see where it goes from there. And I cannot tell you how many people looked at me like, seriously? And I'm like, yeah, seriously. Like, if you're that interested that you want to actually get physical and sleep with me, then we can go out on a date and have conversation and get to know one another. It's like, what happened to all of that, you know? It's like, I don't understand. Now, the flip side to that is, whereas before there were people that never felt comfortable going up to people and talking to them and whatever. Like, I do think, like, the apps and the sites and all that stuff are great for that, you know? But now I will say, with my girlfriends that have met guys on the apps, the majority of them that have met like decent guys have had to pay a little bit. Most of them do like Match.com or eHarmony, and they've had to pay a little bit extra for the more expensive version, and they do it for like 2 or 3 months, where like you can really see somebody's profile or whatever, and the women get to kind of pick and whatever, like who like they talk to, and they feel very safe with it. And I have a couple friends of mine that met fantastic men, you know, and but I don't know, they had to pay a little bit more than you would, you know, like than the free ones. And then I have girlfriends of mine that are like, I'm on Tinder and Plenty of Fish, and I don't ever meet anybody. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. You know, and I think the days of like introducing people, I have the heat on in here because of the windshield, and now it's like so hot. I think the days of like introducing people to people, like, I don't think that really ever happens anymore, does it? You know, like back in the day when I was like single, my girlfriend would be like, oh my God, I have this guy that I want to introduce you to. You guys you'd have so much in common. And really, the only thing that we had in common was that we were both gay. I mean, true story. Like, we had nothing else in common other than we were both gay. And my girlfriends would be like, oh my God, you have so much in common. And I'd be like, what do we have in common? And the reality was, they knew 2 gay people and they thought they had to hook us up, you know? Or the other one I love is, oh my God, my cousin, he's from a suburb in Chicago. His name's John. Do you know him? John from a suburb in Chicago. Oh my God, I do. Do you really? And I always play with these, when these girls say that. And I'm always like, oh my God, I do. Do you really? I'm like, yeah, I know all the Johns in the suburbs in Chicago. Like, just because we're all gay, we know each other or something. I think it's kind of sad that it's taken me like, I've not been comfortable. Like, there were periods in my life that I was like very involved in like going to Pride and going out to gay bars every weekend, that I loved all of that, right? But like truly accepting my gayness, I think, and being like really understanding what pride means, of not living in the shadows of shame anymore like I did when I was younger, and really fully accepting and loving every bit of it, of who I am. It's really sad that it took me 40 years to get there, you know? Like, I mean, it really is sad that it took me that long to get there. And if you're out there and you're struggling with that, don't wait, you know? I had a friend of mine, he actually was a good friend of mine from back in the day. Extremely educated, you know, PhD, had a long-term boyfriend, still was not out to his parents. And I'm like, well, first of all, he's never dated a girl, and he's like in his late 30s, so let's just be for real. And they would always be like, they would always ask him, like, when do you think you're gonna settle down? I'm like, he did 11 years ago. So, you just don't know him yet, you know? And what was so funny was his parents were always so nice to me, you know? And I'm like, and they knew I had boyfriends, and they knew, and they were always, oh, we love Peter, you know? I don't know what they thought, but he was like, he did not want to come out, because he was like, if I come out, they won't accept me. They definitely won't accept my boyfriend. And, you know, I understand the fear of that, but like in your late 30s, when you've accomplished so much, and in the real world, you are out and proud, and everybody knows you as gay, except for your family in this small town, like, at that point, like, I don't know. Like, he said to me, he was like, I just don't know. He finally asked me, he's like, I don't know. He did come out to his family, and it wasn't as bad as he thought it was going to be. It was tough at first, but it got better over time. And this has been years ago now. But I was like, why do you want to continue to have a relationship with your parents in your late 30s if, like, I mean, you are such an example of what parents should be proud of, that if they are not willing to accept the fact that of your sexuality, that you don't really have any control, you don't have any control of anyway, you know, and your boyfriend, who is fantastic as well, your long-term partner, if they're not willing to accept all of that, then, like, are they really people that you want to have a relationship with in your late 30s? I mean, I've known a lot of people in their late 30s that have given relationships up with their family for a lot less than that. And I'm not, and I know people are like, well, when family, it's different. And I've had problematic family that I don't have relationships with today. You know, I love them, they're family. Call me if you need me. Don't bring your toxicity into my life. I don't need it, you know? And I would never tell anybody to come out to their family, you know, when they weren't ready to. But he had come out at 18, you know, to all of his friends, and his coworkers knew he was gay, and they knew his partner. I mean, he was like, it would have been 20 years. And I'm like, girl, like, seriously, it's been 20 years. The entire world knows you're gay except for 2 people in this small town, you know? Even his sister knew. And I'm like, if they won't accept it, he's like, they just won't understand. I said, you are not the first nor the last gay person that your parents have ever met. It's like, I can remember when Alex and I went out to dinner with my aunt before my wedding. And my aunts, we were sitting there talking, and I said, I just want to say, I really, you know, Aunt Kathy, I really appreciate you coming to my wedding or whatever. And I know it's probably a little different for you to come to, like, a gay wedding or whatever. And she looked at me and she goes, do you think this is the first gay wedding I've ever gone to? My aunt, who was extremely social. And I go, oh, I guess I didn't. She's like, well, you know, my friend so-and-so, her daughter's a lesbian. She said she got married at, what's that? In that movie Stella, where she gets married in New York City in that glass pavilion in the middle of, she's like, oh, she had this most gorgeous wedding reception, and it was like, you know, my aunt went on and on and on about this wedding, and all these, and she had been to another wedding in Florida or something like that, and I'm like, oh, my aunt's been to more gay weddings than I have. So can't speak much to the family stuff because I've just always had family that was very accepting of me, you know, that, I mean, it was not an issue ever. And whether that was because, like my dad said, he was prepared for it all of his life anyway, because at 4 years old he thought I probably would be gay, or whatever, you know, based on stereotypes. My dad is like the most masculine, most accepting guy that I have, like, come in contact with forever. He, like, so at Pride, I forgot about this, at Pride Day a couple years ago, Alex and I went there, and my dad was, like, manning the booth for his community, his hospital organization, and I went up to him and I was like, Dad? And he was like, yeah, he was like, hey Pete, how are you doing? And I was like, what are you doing here? And he was like the medical director at the time. And I was like, I mean, you know, it wasn't like they were asking medical directors and CFOs and CEOs to be like, to man the booth anyway. And I said, what are you doing here? And he goes, we had a meeting and they asked who wanted to, like, man the booth at Pride Day. And I said, you know, I'm very proud of my son who's gay and I would love to do it. And so they were doing, like, free, like, eye exams or something. I don't know what they were doing. I can't remember. Not eye exams, but, like, I don't know. Just little, like, you know, take your pulse kind of deals, you know, and your blood pressure or whatever. But he was so excited. He was just standing there in this little t-shirt that they had given him, like, this gay pride t-shirt that had to do with the hospital organization, you know, and stuff like that. And he had so much fun. I'd actually kind of forgotten about that until this moment. I found out, like, the only time my dad ever, like, got, like heated with another doctor that he worked with was when a doctor was like, they were talking about another doctor, and it was just like in passing, and this doctor made this flippant statement and called this other doctor the F word. And my dad looked at him and said, "Don't you ever use that word around me again." And he goes, "What's your problem?" And the guy was like, "What's your problem?" This was like witnessed by other people. It was like, "What's your problem?" I can't really remember how it all went down now, but I remember I found out like years later. And, I mean, it was nothing ugly. It was just my dad just was like, put him in his place. It was like, you're not going to use that language. Or something to do with it. I can't remember how it all went down. And, I was proud of my dad, you know, in that moment for... That's not just standing up for your kid. That's doing the right thing, you know? It's easy to stay silent sometimes. It's easier to stay silent than to do the right thing, I think, you know? I think a lot of people stay silent than do the right thing. I think about that looking back. Oh, no. Oh, shoot. See, this is why I didn't want to... It's playing my book while I'm over here just talking away. Now I don't know where I was on my book. You know, I look back to when I was like in high school, and I think about like all of the, like when I look at the collection of bullies that were around me, there was always like 4 or 5 or more of these guys and girls sometimes that stood there and said nothing. They didn't contribute, but they didn't say anything either, you know? And I always wonder, like, because a couple of them were pretty tough. And, I sometimes wonder, like, if any of them had stood up and said, "Hey, man, like, just leave him alone. Like, enough is enough already," you know? I sometimes wonder if it would have stopped or if it would have gotten worse or whatever, you know? I think what's interesting about this book is, you know, I think about, like, whoever your kid is, whether your kid's gay or straight or into musical theater or into athletics or into painting or music, guitar, singing, xylophone, you know, mural painting, drawing, video games, whatever they're in, whatever they're passionate about, lift that up, embrace it, and allow them to be even more passionate about it, you know? If they're excited about video games, you know, find out YouTubers that, like, are into the same video games as them. Take them to video game conferences, you know, get them, like, involved in all of that stuff. If they're into painting, take them to community classes. If you can't afford it, there's classes that are free, you know? If they're into music, get them involved in choir or acting classes, you know? It's like, if they're into athletics, you know, get them involved in as much as they possibly can, you know, as far as sports, and have them try different sports, because just because they played soccer for 8 years doesn't mean that they won't love football. You know, my nephew, Carlitos, has played baseball for like, what is he, 8? For like 4 years, because my brother-in-law, Carlos, played for a farm team in Venezuela and is such a fantastic baseball player. Well, Carlitos is like a natural baseball player. I mean, and it's not just one of these braggadocio kind of like things. Like, we've had like friends of the family that are like, do you guys have any really idea how good Carlitos is? And I'm like, no. Well, they started him playing football last year because he wanted to start playing football because his friends did. They were like soccer or football, because like all of his cousins play soccer, and so it was soccer or football, and he couldn't do too many sports at once. So he started playing soccer, or he started playing football. Well, I guess he has to make a decision for which one he's going to do going forward or whatever, and he is like, wants to play football. He loves football. And I said to my brother-in-law, I said, I thought he would be real devastated that he doesn't want to play baseball. And I said, what do you think about it? And he goes, he was like, I don't really care as long as he's happy and he's excited about what he's doing. I just want him to love what he's doing, you know? And it's like, whatever your kids are into, you know? And it's like, that's where I feel like, even though I never got to go to a gay camp, and I never got to experience prom as a gay guy, and I never got to experience living in my own skin and being comfortable in my own skin in high school and asking another guy out on a date, you know, and holding hands at the movie theater, and I never got to do any of those things. It stopped. But what I was going to say was, even though I didn't get to do any of that kind of stuff, for me, there's still grace in knowing that my parents had I been out and had those things been available, would have fully supported me in going to it, you know? I think my mom, actually, it's interesting because my mom was is definitely the more liberal of both of my parents. And, like, I think she would have been like, a gay camp? Like, I don't, you know, I think she would have been like, if that's what you want to do, sure, I'm supportive of that. My dad would have been like, driven me up there proudly driven me up there and been like, you have the best time ever, kiddo, you know? I want you to feel included in the world as well. And I think that's what it's all about, is tapping into those things that make us who we are, and those things that we love and whatever, and feeling safe and comfortable in our own skin and being proud and, you know, all of that. And I don't know. It's funny that reading this book, this little YA book, is making me think about all this, you know, though, but I'm kind of sad sometimes that I wasn't like in drama or in choir in high school, which that has nothing to do with the gayness. That has to do with the fact that I was afraid of my own shadow and would never have auditioned for it. But, you know, like, all of those guys that were in choir with me, they all went to, like, the same college. They all were in choir in college. They all did musical theater. They all came out at the same time. And it's like, I don't know, my journey was obviously supposed to be different. My journey was supposed to be completely different, you know? So, I still had a good time, you know, but it just was different. Anyway, so if you're looking for a good book, I would recommend a good YA book, LGBT YA book, I would recommend Camp by Elsie Rosen. And if you're looking for, it's interesting that they do a comparison in there between like Jewish camp and gay camp, because the two guys that are kind of like crushing on each other, they talk about how their parents wanted them to go to like Jewish camp instead, which is so funny because like I had so many friends through the years that went to Jewish camp, and like they always called it Jewish camp, and they loved it. They would be like, oh my God, I loved it. It was like so much fun when we were growing up, and we would go every year. And even though they like all went to different synagogues here in Indianapolis, they like all knew each other from like the different camp or the same camp every year. So anyway, I thought that was funny in the book, or interesting, because my friends were kind of like that too, that knew each other, that all went to Jewish camp. What was I gonna say? And if you're looking for a good movie, I would definitely recommend the movie Camp. And I think it has like a girl, and she's like singing on the front of it or something. That's really about musicals. It's a little bit Mean Girls. It's a little bit camp. It's a little bit Gay Crush. It's really a good movie. I loved it back in the day. I actually need to watch it again. I haven't seen it in forever. It was such a cute movie. So, anyway, I'm going to get off here now. I'm going to listen to my book. I'm going to try to find my place in my book again. Oh, that's one of the things with Audible is like, if you're not paying attention and it plays, it'll like just play and play and play and play. It doesn't like stop on its own, but obviously. Anyway, That was such a stupid thing to say because you guys are like, yeah, obviously it just keeps on playing and playing and playing. So anyway, I'm gonna get off here now, and I should probably finish that book tomorrow though. Like, I mean, that's how close I am to getting it done. It was like a 10-hour book too. It was like as long as the Mexican Gothic that took me forever to finish. That book was so meh. I just was so over that book by the end of it. Anyway, I'm gonna get off here now. I hope you guys are having, oh my God, today is Sunday. Well, most people in the United States have tomorrow off. So if you're in the United States and you're off, enjoy your day. If you have to work, I'm sorry. And if you're, wherever you live, be kind to one another. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And I hope you guys are having a magically amazing Monday. And I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya!